This is John for the Everyday Fan Sports. Today I have the pleasure of being on the beat with ex-league champion Emma Vanderheyden. How are you?
I am great. Couldn't be better. How are you?
I'm great. First of all, congratulations. Nice title.
Thank you so much. It's definitely a title that we've been working really hard for.
Well, I'm going to get to all that. I certainly want to get to all that. But first, a little background. What is your sports background?
I played competitive travel soccer my entire life from 6 to 19. I overlapped that with travel volleyball as well. A little bit of cross country thrown in there. Post collegiate soccer, I picked up flag football here in Chicago. There's a league on the south side that's super competitive. You got pretty much every type of ex-athlete, professional, amateur, that you can find in the league. And that pushed me on to pursue women's tackle football shortly after.
Now, when you say women's tackle football, you played before the Blitz. You played with was it the Chicago Force?
Yep, I was with Chicago Force for its last 2 years of existence.
And what position did you play?
I was a running back receiver.
So what makes a young lady want to play tackle football?
Well, I've always been more of the physical player on the soccer field. I was trained at a young age to be very, very strong, especially because I'm 5'3". So I have to be bigger than I am at all times. But just learning the game of football just through flag, and that's like, semi-contact, if you will. Just learning it with these like just the men that in the league I was learning from ex-NFL players, college stars, etc. Just learning the game further than just like watching on TV. It was just so fun. So then when the opportunity first arose for me to play with the Chicago Force, I declined it because it scared me. And then that same year they went off to win the national championship. That was back in 2013. So I was kicking myself at that point. They finally got me to come out. What was it? 2.5 years later, I finally went out and never looked back.
So why did it scare you?
Well, I was still new to the sport. I had just moved to Chicago at the time, and my story is, and it's quite funny now that I know that I love the girl. She's my teammate, but one of the offensive linemen had walked up to me to try to recruit me. And I say this girl was big. She was big. And my little 4'2" or 5'2" and 3/4 stature with this giant offensive lineman coming up to me saying, "You want to play tackle football?" I was like, I don't know.
I understand, certainly.
So at the time I was like, I don't think I'm ready for that.
So then what convinced you then to actually go for it?
So my friend convinced me to try out for the Blitz back in 2014, so a year later. And I was about that, just because the nature of the league and the uniform and whatnot, as we all kind of are at first. And then I went out to tryouts, and I made it to the rookie camp, and then I had gotten cut at the rookie camp for whatever reason. And that lit a fire under me, because I'm like, I know I can do this. I felt like I was the best rookie out there, and I got unjustly not given a fair chance or whatever in my mind. So that gave me the motivation to go to 11v11 and try that out and see if I could really do this.
So from the 11, and certainly with no disrespect to the XFL, to the X League, the 11-on-11, you guys played several games, right?
Yeah, so we had literally games weekly.
Okay. So, to adjust then to the I keep calling it the XFL, to the X League, where you played, this season you only played 2 games. How was that adjustment?
It was kind of heartbreaking at first, because back in 2019 and years prior, you had at least 4 games and then playoffs. And so we were expecting 4 games now that like COVID restrictions are pretty much lifted and whatnot. But stuff happened that we have no knowledge of, or that was out of our control. So after like conversations with the team, we said we put in way too much work over the last 3 years to just be mad. So we got what we got, and we put everything into it, and we came out on top.
And you took it out on everybody else.
Absolutely.
Along the way. Now you mentioned the uniforms. And I used to cover the Bliss. I covered them for years. I've got the 2014 Reign. You mentioned the uniforms. Obviously, the uniforms have gotten criticized over the years. Last year, you guys had a little bit more of a cover up. How did you feel about the uniforms last year?
So in 2019 was the last year we had the old uniforms. That was my first year officially playing in the league with them. So, when you first put them on, you're like, no way. And then you go out to play, or you will go out into warm-ups, and you just feel so exposed. But once that adrenaline starts hitting and you actually like focus on the game, you stop noticing it, and it just becomes, it is what it is. So I mean, it was uncomfortable at first, but once you get into it, you're into it and you don't think about it at all.
So, you only played 2 games, but I know how hard you guys work. I know that you started, I'm not sure when you started practicing, but I know you would practice 2, 3, whatever nights a week. Like how hard was that to maintain that level and of practice throughout all those months, then only to play 2 games during the regular season?
I mean, we've built a team culture that's kind of we're just very tight knit and very positive for the most part. So like we've been training like this for all of COVID years. So it was kind of just what we do. And we were aware of that. We were the only team that trained like we did, even in the off season. Like even through the off seasons, we do weekly conditionings, and then once tryouts start to come around, we're amping it up to 2 days a week, and then once tryout hits, it's back to 3 days a week. So we kind of picked up on like hints and notes that like we are the only team that trains like that, and that gave us the motivation to just keep going. So when we heard about that 2-game season, yeah, it was deterring after all that work we put in for years. But it wasn't going to stop us. Like, if that's what we're going to get, we're going to take it.
Now, you're from the Rockford area?
I am.
So how was it playing the game in Rockford in front of your home fans?
It was kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not surreal, but I can't think of the word. But, like, it was exciting because I grew up there, and I went in the BMO Harris Bank Center. I used to go to expos and hockey games and basketball games there. So like being the person on the field was really cool. And it was also nice because I could reconnect with old high school friends, and most of my family is still around the area. So they actually found out that we were playing there before I did.
Oh,
I think there
wow.
was an announcement made somewhere on social media, and so my aunt called me like screaming into the phone like, "You're playing in Rockford." I am. so
That's
so
awesome.
so it was really cool because me and Stephanie Raymond, who was also from Rockford, we were able to reconnect with the media there that used to follow our sports careers throughout high school and college, and they were super excited to learn about the league and be at our games and help us spread, just bring media attention to our team, which we've been working so hard to try to get.
So take me to the championship game now. You're playing in the championship game against
Atlanta.
How did you feel going into the game? Like, was the scouting report favoring you guys?
So this was the only game that the league had picked us to win. We have been looked down on. We've been talked negatively about. Like for some reason, no one expected much out of us after a hard 2019 year, rebuilding year. But we have the best coaching staff in the league. Our coach, Sidney Lewis, he puts days and nights of effort into this, and he is a defensive-minded person. So defensively, we knew exactly what Atlanta was going to do. We basically knew the entire playbook just by watching their film. We could predict every adjustment that they were going to make, and it showed on the field. So going into this game, I felt very calm, surprisingly, when other games usually get a little bit antsy, going into it. This is, especially for a championship game, that's probably the calmest I've ever felt, just because we knew what we were going to do. We knew that we were going to shut it down. We knew if we shut down their run game, it was over for them. And that's exactly what we did.
That's so funny because, like I said earlier, I go back way to the 2013 season with Coach Hack and, Heather
Yeah.
Furr and all those. Things never change. Chicago, it always seems like the Chicago team is underrated. And then they come in with the chip on their shoulder and they just beat everybody up. I saw Dominique Collins now Dominique Naus was down there. Were there any other Blitz alumni down there?
No, she was the only one. She is now living in Dallas. So she made the 3.5-hour drive to come support us. So that was really exciting to see her. Yeah, she whenever we play in Texas, she's there. So, and we love to see her. So we made sure she got to come onto the field before the game and be with the team and, still, because her legacy is still here. So.
Yeah, Dominique, I love Dominique. She was actually my first interview with anybody from the Blitz way back in the day. But so how did it feel like, I'm sure you have, how did it feel to sign your first autograph, take your first picture with the fans, see them out there cheering for you?
Yeah, so the greatest moment of that was in Rockford. Even like before the game, walking around, we like at a hotel, one of the hotel workers walked up to me. She's like, "You're Emma, you're the Rockford girl." And I was like, "What?"
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and like, I think that was the most sentimental moments for me as far as like meeting the fans, signing the autographs. There was 2 little girls that came up to me in the autograph line after a game in Rockford and were just like, "You're my favorite player. Like, can I hug you?" And like one girl was like, my boyfriend offered to buy her a Blitz shirt and we would send it to her. And like, it's the community building and the connection that you make. And like meeting those young women, it's what keeps you going through all the hard times, through all the non-recognition of within the women's game and whatnot. It keeps you going. You realize you're doing it for the right reasons.
Well, I read some of the articles actually from the Rockford area, and you had mentioned how the women prior to you had spent years playing football with little recognition, and then you guys have spent years playing with a little bit more recognition. So what does it mean to you to kind of carry that legacy and bring it forward and open more doors for more younger women going forward?
Yeah, I mean, that's a loaded question.
I try.
The only thing we can do is just keep pushing. Like, I'm getting up there in age. It's about time for me to start making some life-changing decisions as far as myself and my family and whatnot moving forward. So whatever time that I choose to continue to dedicate to this, I want to leave it in a place that's better than where I started. I know we're already at a place like that in all like 11v11 arena, all facets of women's football. I know we're already there, but we're not at the end goal yet.
Well, speaking of the end goal, are you going to everybody wants to know, are you coming back?
Yes, I will be back in 2023.
Yes. And I have to apologize. I totally intended to come out to the game in Rockford, but I had an assignment out of town and I could not make it for that. So it killed me not to make it because, again, it was only one game. So I really wanted to be out there. But next year I will do my best to come out and see you guys. Hopefully you'll play more than one home game. But when you're not playing football, when you're not winning championships, what do you like to do in your spare time?
So when I'm not in football season, I bodybuild. So I'm not doing a prep this year, but typically when I'm out of season of football, I'll start a bodybuilding prep and I'll step on stage right before we go back into preseason.
Wow, you're staying busy, huh?
Always.
Listen, I totally appreciate your time, and I congratulate you and I thank you because I've covered women's sports for a lot of years, and the lack of attention. Let me make a positive spin on it. The more attention that you guys get, the more you deserve, because you guys really bust tail out there, and especially the Blitz. I know how hard you work. I know how many months you work to get that title, and you deserve that and everything else. So I thank you for that, and I appreciate your time. Before I let you go, is there anything you want to promote where people could find you or the Blitz?
Yeah, so actually, we haven't set up the flyer yet, but next Friday we are having our official championship party. It is at the Society Nightclub Friday night. I think that was the 23rd, starting at, I believe, 8 p.m. So everyone is welcome to come up for that. Also, we will be doing one last fundraiser this season. If anyone's been following us, they know we fundraise our lights off to get everybody to every game, even the practice players. So we will be selling championship t-shirts being announced within the next 2 days to help fund future travel costs, future practice facilities, and even help out with some of our championship rings.
I appreciate it. Absolutely.
Hey, I see that.
Yeah, see, we got matching rings. Mine's a little older from 2014, but yours is fresher. So
upgrade.
Exactly. Listen, I really, really appreciate your time. I encourage everyone to check out the Chicago Blitz, check out you online, and support these women because they really deserve it, and they bust tail, and they're great women and great role models. So Emma, really, I appreciate your time, and you have a great night.
Thank you so much. You too.
Thanks.